Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy YBP Gang, YBP Nation, YBP Boxing, YBP MMA, and today I'm coming at y'all with the official YBP UFC End of the Year Award Show, where we're going to be breaking down each of the awards that I found, or each category that, I concluded were, some of the biggest categories, some of the easiest to break down, and, ones I felt most strongly about. I didn't want to get too, obscure into it, like KO of the Year, Submission of the Year. So I did the biggest ones. I felt like the most important ones and the ones that encapsulated, the biggest parts of this year. So let's get right into the video. I will disclaimer though, my picks aren't the best. I don't know. I feel like in sports where it's basketball, there's good record keeping. UFC there isn't it's kind of hard for me to see, okay, boom, who had all the best, who had the most wins this year. I think the easiest one to do, tracking-wise, seeing who had, what in the division was, the debuts of the year or rookie of the year. That was really easy to see, just, who debuted in 2023 and who had the most wins and all that type of stuff. So I'll break that down. But the other stuff was kind of hard, so I just kind of had to go off memory. But compiled a list I felt pretty good about. But yeah, let's get right into the first category. First category is Men's Fighter of the Year. I would initially, when I made the nominees, I had Sean Strickland, I had Brendan Allen, and Jailton Almeida. I switched it a little bit though. I don't know, because I was just going based off of just pure wins, finishes, dominance of the year. But I went with the champions. I went with Sean Strickland, obviously. Big wins. He had win against Imavov, win against, which was, I think he might have been underdog in that fight. Abus was a pick'em. And he was a big underdog in the Izzy fight, masterclass of a performance, won nearly every round, 4-1. One of the biggest upsets we've seen in UFC history, against a really bad stylistic matchup, a nightmare matchup for him. And he went out there and made it look easy. Next we have Islam Makhachev. I wasn't gonna put him on the list, honestly, initially, because he beat the same guy twice. And the first time, I gave him a lot of credit though for the second win, the knockout. I was saying he was gonna knock him out, but a lot of people didn't feel that way. But he did beat the same guy twice, but he's still a really dominant champion, kept his belt, beat a top 3 pound for pound guy in the world. That guy that gave him a really hard fight, he beat him. Short notice or not, that's short notice for him too. He made it look easy, so I put him on the list. And then Leon, I don't want to say active, but he defended his belt twice against top contenders. How good you think Colby is, that's up to you, but he essentially dominated Colby. And then Usman, that was, decently close fight. I thought Leon didn't have to win that fight. Some people disagree, but he went out there, he had a really good performance against Kamaru Usman, so I had to put him on the list as champion. Whether you like him or not, he's going out there and putting out great performances. And the Men's Fighter of the Year, the official one, I think it's pretty easy to, I don't know, I don't see really an argument that really distinguishes these other two from the guy I'm about to pick. I think it's pretty clear. There's no one who had the year that this guy had. He honestly deserves all the nominations for all the awards. It's your boy, Sean Strickland, Men's Fighter of the Year. You had to give it to him. Just a tremendous year. He's raised his stock heavily with the Izzy win, the trash talk going into it, and just being active, being ready for his shot. And he's going to defend his title at UFC 297. We're going to see how that goes. I don't think he wins, if y'all saw my prediction video. But it'll be interesting to see, how he does in that performance, in that fight. Dricus is a really hard fighter, really tough fighter. Really hard fighter is crazy. No, he's a really tough opponent, hard hitter, really good grappling. We saw what he did to Robert Whittaker. We saw what Sean Strickland did to Israel Adesanya. So that'll be an interesting matchup to see how those styles collide. Next category, I went Women's Fighter of the Year nominees. Okay, in retrospect, I think I should have swapped out Lupi Godinez for what's it called? Alexa Grasso. But here's just to address her. I couldn't put Alexa Grasso on the list because I felt like so you had a really crazy upset, really good finish over one of the most dominant women's champions that we've had in UFC history, apart from Amanda Nunes. But even her, she lost to, Juliana Pena, a fighter a lot of people thought she would just run through. She did in the rematch, but the first time no one saw that coming. Given COVID, all that type of stuff. But Valentina's been consistent. She's been winning a lot of her fights in her division. So for her to go out there and do that, that's crazy. But then in the second fight, a lot of people thought she lost, and it was a tie. It was I think it was a draw. So I don't know. I Fighter of the Year is she did retain her belt, but I don't know. I couldn't give it to her. I don't know. In retrospect, I probably should have swapped her out for Lupi Godinez. But I'll explain why she's on the list. First, we have Erin Blanchfield. She had 2 wins this year. She had a win against Taylor Santos and then a breakout performance against Jessica Andrade. She did get tagged a little bit, but she showed off her chin. She showed off her submission skills once again and showed why she's the next champion in that division. She's gonna be going out and proving it against Manon Fiorot next year, but you can see why she's being pushed by the UFC, getting the opportunities that she is, and why a lot of people think she's gonna be the next. Oh, my bad. Why a lot of people think she's gonna be the next, dominant female champion that we're gonna have at the UFC, the next face of women's MMA. The next one I have is Tatiana Suarez. She had really good really good. I think she was returning from like a really bad layoff from like an injury. She's married to Patchy Mix, but I think she fought Montana De La Rosa, made it look easy against her, and then she fought who'd she fight? Was it Jessica Andrade? I believe it was. Shoot, I don't want to. Let me look this up. I think it was Jessica Andrade. I don't want to butcher this. Let me see. Tatiana Suarez. Oh, let's see. Tatiana Suarez. Yeah, it was again against Jessica Andrade too. So, really good year for her. Really good return year. I think she's gonna make a lot of her noise though in this next year, 2024. I think she has a fight scheduled with Amanda Lemos. Yeah, so she's been dominant, across her whole career, undefeated. She's another person who I think is going to be the future of women's MMA and going to, carry the sport for years to come. And then the last one I have is Lupi Godinez. She's been active, 4 fights this year, 4 wins, really stamping herself as a contender, in the women's divisions, and just putting on really, I don't know about exciting, but she's doing it, man. She's winning fights. She's doing what she needs to do to get the wins. And she's doing her thing, so I had to put her on the list. Like I said, I probably should have swapped her out with Alexa Grasso, but it is what it is. The video is about to be out anyways. That's just a disclaimer, but it doesn't matter. Alexa Grasso or not, I wasn't going to put Alexa Grasso as fight of the year. My fight of the year is women's fight of the year is Erin Blanchfield. Just an amazing year that she's had, with the win she had against Jessica Andrade, putting the chin on, showing her toughness, showing the striking that she has too, that she can bang it out, and that she can also, take the fight to the ground, just showing her overall MMA skills. And then in a recent performance against Tyler Santos. Tyler Santos is someone who, that was a very impressive win, even though she did win via Merab, doing the same thing that Merab did, just holding her against the cage. She showed some striking too in that fight, but not too much though. Really just using that wrestling, using that grilling pace, using the cardio that she has. To put it on someone like Tyler Santos, who's really strong, long frame, and someone who gave Valentina Shevchenko a really tough fight. A lot of people thought she won that fight too. So, great performance against someone who has title aspirations. It sucks to see how there was a story. I don't know what happened, but Tyler Santos actually got cut from the UFC. It was weird because she's not a bad fighter, not a terrible losing streak. There was a story, someone said that, I don't know, it's bad, and that like it was on Twitter, but no one specified. Like they were saying, oh, there's a story out there that like when it comes out it's gonna be crazy, and I haven't heard anything since. Honestly, now I'm thinking about it, so I'll have to do some digging. I don't know, but there's a secret story out there or something that happened with Tyler Santos, and it must have not had anything to do with her talent or how good she is. But honestly, if you're someone like Tyler, I'm rambling, but if you're someone like Tyler Santos or even Erin Blanchfield, there's a lot of opportunities out there like PFL to just go out there and win the $1 million because a lot of those girls in other organizations are not as good. But it is what it is. Next one, we got Rookie of the Year. Very easy, I thought, to come to mind. When I was actually, it was between Brenner and Lopez, but let me just get to it. Shout out to the list girl too. But Brenner, 3 fights this year, big upsets. I didn't think he beat Zubaira Tukagov. That was a win's a win though. Upset, undefeated on the year, and then he goes on to fight Guram Kudaladze. That was a crazy fight, back and forth, and then Elvis Brenner was able to get the knockout in the last round. Guram Kudaladze is someone who people thought would be a future champion, We saw that early fight with him and Hishmagulov. It's crazy how the trajectory of their careers since that fight happened. A lot of people thought, oh, future champion. Even I did. And then, Guram gets beat by Brenner. Demir Hishmagulov gets dominated by Grant Dawson. The career's just been downhill. I think he had a fight after that, too, where he lost. So, just been downhill for him. But Brenner, just amazing wins, amazing comeback wins, just showing the Charles Olivier coach that they have there at Shootbox. And just amazing performances. And then Diego Lopez. Oh, and I think Brenner got a couple bonuses too. But Lopez, first fight, he comes in. Even though he loses, he goes out there and nearly beats Movsar Evloev. I think he won a round. I think he at least stole a round. Fight of the night. I think he's gotten bonuses in all of his performances. Fight of the night in the Movsar Evloev fight. Next fight, he goes out there, he fights, who did he fight? He choked out, I think it was Gavin Tucker. It was before the Pat Sabatini fight. He went out, made it look easy against the guy. And then Pat Sabatini, it was a pick'em. A lot of people thought Pat Sabatini had the tools to get the upset, do something interesting. And Lopez makes it look easy in that fight. So just an amazing year for him. Bonuses in all his fights. All exciting fights. I think people like the haircut. He's definitely probably one of the more... His stock rose, I think, a lot in a lot of his performances. Like, you saw the Mobster fight, and then you're like, boom. It's like these... it happens a lot in the UFC, where it's like... I'm trying to think of another example. Like, it's... someone comes in on... like, Basil Hafez. He comes in on short notice, fights JDM. He, loses a close fight, but then you're like, okay, now let me see him against someone who's, not... I don't want to say around his level, because you just saw that he was competing with someone that elite, but let me see him... in a normal fight, short notice, full camp. Now you want to see how his career progressed. And that's what we saw with Diego Lopez. Came in there with one of the top guys in the division. A lot of people think Movsar Evloev has the opportunity to become maybe a champ down the line. I don't agree, but he has the tools to do so. He's undefeated. He's going to have the opportunities if he keeps winning. And Lopez did that, nearly submitted him. It took everything out of Movsar Evloev. Like, it wasn't a pushover in a matchup. And then seeing what he did throughout the year, 2 finishes, bonuses everywhere, just a future star, and definitely something we want to see. Just keep pushing on, just keep getting the good fights, just entertain the fans. And then Ikram Aliskerov, it's hard to keep him off the list too. It was either Ikram. Okay, so that's the problem too. Like, there was Ikram, there was Petrino, there was Rebecca. I really wanted to put Rebecca on here. Bo Nickel had a case too. But I went with Ikram just because, the guys he's beating too. Like, he beat, who he beat? Warley Alves. And then he knocked out, who did he knock out, bro? I keep forgetting. Ikram Aliskerov. He knocked out someone bad. In both his fights, he's making it look easy. I think the problem I had with Rebecca is that you see the talent, but then he went 3 rounds with Nick, was it Nick Fiore? And that's not good, because then... Chase Hooper might have finished Nick Fiore, so or did him bad. Yeah, see, he finished Phil Hawes in the first round. That was bad. I know Phil Hawes is chinny, but that's a good win, man. That's a quality win. We saw Phil Hawes had a really good striking, and he made it look easy against him. So that's a bad win, man. That's a bad man right there. So definitely gonna be keeping the middleweight division on notice. He has a fight in the against Fluffy Hernandez, I think, on UFC 298. So that's going to be really interesting to see. He should finish him in the first round, though. I just want to keep him pushing. Like, I would have loved to see that Costa fight, man. I was picking him to beat Costa. Obviously, that fight fell out. But I'm really excited to see how his career progresses. But my rookie of the year, though, is Diego Lopez. I don't really got to explain too much. I already, bonuses in all his fights. Really excited fighter. He just has star written all over him, man. Just all finishes. He will accept that decision fight, but even that was a fight of the night performance right there. I think he's really getting over with the fans. Just putting on bangers, just doing what he has to do. And that's what you want to see out of a rookie of the year. Just putting on exciting fights, winning them, and just getting people on the hype train. So now, comeback fighter of the year. This was a little harder because I don't know. I just didn't really have any I knew the person I wanted to put for it, but nominees were kind of hard. I settled for Cody Brundage and Terrence McKinney. I don't mean to spoil it. I'm not even building it up anymore. But yeah, Alex Pereira, it has to be him. I mean, has to be him. You know, he got knocked out by Izzy in the first round. No, second round. In their fight, close first round, second round, gets knocked out. Things happen. But then he goes back, beats Jan Blachowicz, a nightmare matchup for him, and then comes out and, you know, beats a stylistically good matchup for him. In Yuri Prochazka, knocks him out with I think it was a left hook. It was a hook of some sort. So you had to give it to him. But I'll make a case for Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage, he had 2 losses, I think. He had a loss, but he was on a bad like, he was on the brink of getting cut by the UFC. It looked like, because then he gets fed Jacob Malkoun. You know, he's a huge underdog, and he ends up getting out of that one. Some people say he was acting. Like, I don't want to put that on him, because I mean, if you get hit to the back of the head, that stuff happens. But by illegal blows, you know, he just said he couldn't continue, and he gets a DQ win. And then his next fight, he gets a slam victory against Zach Reese, you know, a prospect off Dana White's Contender Series that a lot of people were high on. Just a really quality win, you know, digging himself out of a hole that he was in. And I was getting a Bo Nickel fight, really big fight. But you see, I mean, it took a lot of things going his way. You know, he could have easily just got finished by Jacob Malkoun in the position that he was in because of some mistakes. That's a DQ, and then he goes out there, gets a slam KO. He's on the up and up, and now he's in a big spot against Bo Nickel on UFC 300. He gets to maybe pull off the upset and stop this hype train and Bo Nickel and completely flip things around. So, yeah, great. Great turnaround from in 2023 from Cody Brundage. And Terrence McKinney, his case is just, you know, losing to Nazim Sadikov, he lost to someone else. But then coming back, he knocked out 2, I don't want to call them bums. Like, I don't like calling, but they're like no-name guys. I think it was like, I forgot the guy's name. Mike, was it Mike? No. I think it was Mike Breeden. I think it was Mike Breeden, yeah. Must have been him. But yeah, because then Mike Breeden, that showed to be a quality win, because then Mike Breeden was able to come back against Anshul Jubilee. He was able to come back and give Anshul Jubilee a really good fight. So quality win by Terrence McKinney. I think both of them are short notice fights, just getting in there, getting his money, and rewriting the year. You know, the year that started off with I think 2 losses. It might have been 1 loss. I don't know if he got 4 fights in for this calendar. I think he did get 4 fights in, but way to rewrite the year. So those are my comeback fight of the year nominees, but it had to go to the one and only Alex Pereira. Just great way to come back, you know, in a fight that's always going to be a tough fight against your rival in Adesanya. No matter what weight class, it's always going to be hard. Adesanya did the unthinkable. I didn't think he'd be able to win by knockout. I mean, because I think the narrative was like Pereira by knockout, Izzy by decision. Izzy don't got Izzy's pillow fisting, you know, you don't got the power really. But even that, it was more of a placement. It was more like speed and placement, you know. I think I'm one of those believers where it's like speed can be power. You know, if you have the speed, if you have the shot placement, if you have all the perfect things going your way, and you have a guy who's cutting all that weight, I mean, Izzy, it was always live, you know, in hindsight. But to see him do it, it was crazy. And then for him to Pereira lock that up, you know, lock that up with a key, you know, hide it away, just get back to training, lock in, and move on to light heavyweight, get the belt there to potentially create a big fight, honestly. If Izzy, even though Izzy didn't have the belt, the UFC could just go back to that well and just do that fight. A lot of people talking about that at UFC 300. I heard rumors about Pereira, Aspinall. I don't believe that. I think it's either Izzy Pereira or if Izzy Chimaev. I probably want to see Izzy Chimaev more, but I wouldn't be mad at you. Whenever those guys fight, man, I mean, I'd watch them fight 100 times. It's always going to be a good rivalry, a good war when they fight. It could be a quick knockout either way, too, so it's always going to be fireworks when those guys throw down in the ring or in the octagon. But comeback fight of the year had to be Alex Pereira. Next one, breakthrough fight of the year. It's really between 2 guys. Khalil Roundtree, I don't know. It was really between Benoit Saint-Denis and Dricus du Plessis, BSD and DDP. But Khalil Roundtree, I think he's made a case for being breakthrough fight of the year with his breakthrough performances against Chris Daukaus and Anthony Smith. Those were really big for him, because I feel like there was this like notion that like when Khalil Roundtree goes up against I guess elite guys. He's not no. How do I say this? Like he would kind of like lose to bad fighters and to beat the good ones. So I think he just needed and he wasn't too consistent with what he was doing. He had that close fight with Dustin Jacoby. It was a split decision. I don't know how close I don't really remember how that fight went, but just up and down. The Marcin Prachnio fight was like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the violence that we saw in the Carl Robeson fight? So I'm just going off the dome. So if I'm messing up the order, like, y'all could check me in the comments. But just some like inconsistencies. You didn't see like the full coming together moment for Khalil Roundtree. So as much as this is breakthrough fight of the year, it's kind of mixed with most improved too. I think I've just seen a lot of improvements in Khalil Roundtree, a lot of steps in the right direction. Now he's really announcing himself as like a big contender in the light heavyweight division. The problem, putting it all together. Now he's calling for like a main event. I'd love to see that. It has to be against the right guy, but that would be amazing to see. But it's really between these two guys, Benoit Saint-Denis and Dricus du Plessis. We'll start with Benoit, BSD. He's bringing. French MMA has been on a tear. Manon Fiorot, Cyril Gane, and now BSD. The big upset win against Ismael Bonfim. I think a lot of people were too high on that. What was it? It was it was a flying knee they had on McKinney, and then everyone was like, oh, he's going to do the same thing to Benoit Saint-Denis. But Benoit, man, he just out-grappled him, choked him out, just controlled him, and did his thing. And then the Frevola one was insane. That was a nasty KO, man. You just don't do that to people, man. And Frevola, man, you almost, Frevola was beating all the guys. That was his thing, is that he was beating all the undefeated guys going out there. He beat a guy like, who was it, Atman Zaitar. Before that, it was, who was it? Francisco Prado. He was just beating a lot of guys that he wasn't supposed to beat, pulling off the upset. So, but Benoit was just a different animal, man. He head kicked him, and that was a nasty KO. I have to rewatch that after this is done. But just an excellent, just putting it all together. I think Benoit has been like seen as kind of like a wild guy. He can be a little wild on the feet, not control with his movements. He's willing to go to war. He's the god of war, so he's gonna give everyone a good fight. But if he can, have some patience, really put it all together, I could see him maybe being champ. He has the tools to do it, but he's raw right now. But he definitely broke through as one of the a future prospect in the lightweight division for sure. So I'd love to see him against Jalen Turner, Gamrot maybe down the line if Gamrot can't get the Oliveira fight that he wanted, because I think Armand might get that, but that's another video for another day. And then Dricus du Plessis, it's hard putting him in breakthrough fight of the year because he's been winning consistently. I think he's gotten almost all finishes in his fights, undefeated in the UFC. But it just seemed like people didn't give him credit for the stuff that he was doing, because he didn't do it against. He was doing this sloppy stuff, man. It was just weird. And honestly, in the Whitaker fight, it was a lot of the same stuff that we had seen in the previous fights. But because it was Whitaker that he did it to, now it was like, whoa. Now let me rewind. Let me go back and how did he really do this? But there have been improvements though. We can't lie. I thought he was a much more polished version of this wacky style that he had. But it's still DDP though. It's still that guy who's has kind of like the unorthodox style, doing weird stuff. He's zigging where you're supposed to zag. He's dotting his T's and crossing his eyes. I think that's how you say the saying, right? So just being weird, and that got him to the dance. I think he should keep that when he goes up against Strickland. But good wins against Whitaker. That was the big one, a big upset. And I think what was the one before that set him up? That was the big. You don't really need much more, honestly. That really put him on the map. I think. Let me see what that was. Dricus du Plessis. Yeah, so even prior to that though, before the Robert Whitaker one, it was the Derek Brunson win. That was a good win. Obviously, he got the finish in that one, but it wasn't too you didn't get inspired to be like, okay, he's gonna beat Whitaker. You saw flashes, you saw how he could put it all together, how he could maybe do it, but you didn't know that's what he was capable of. So I think that one fight kind of put him over, and that's why I chose him as my breakthrough fight of the year. Like I said, it was close between Benoit Saint-Denis and Dricus du Plessis, but I had to go with the South African man. I think honestly when he fights Strickland, I think he's gonna bring the belts back to South Africa, bring the belts back to Africa, and hopefully, I mean, I'd love to see Adesanya just stay in the middleweight division. We see him go out there and beat Chimaev, and then him fight Dricus du Plessis in Africa, man. You know, put it in South Africa, put it in Nigeria, Senegal, any of these places, Egypt, shoot, any of these places, man. That would be a huge fight. So, and then last one I think is fight of the year. Three amazing fights, I gotta say. All these really memorable, stick in my mind. We have Pantoja Moreno 3, just the absolute war. Not as technical as maybe like Islam Volk. I think Turner Hooker kind of falls into that. But I mean, Pantoja Moreno, those are excellent displays of striking in there, determination, grit, will. Really good grappling, I think, shown from Pantoja in moments, like keeping that, getting on the back and staying there for a prolonged period of time. With that won him some rounds, I think, on my scorecard. I thought it was, honestly, it was one of those fights where, like, on my scorecard, it was 4-1, but the fight was a lot closer than that, like, each round, but I scored it 4-1, so it ended up getting kind of not close, I guess, round by round, but you could tell, like, it was a barn burn. It was back and forth. And I think the back and forth nature of it, and then the triumph of the underdog in Pantoja. You know, Moreno seemed like just that he was going to be that guy. You know, he was going to carry the torch for Mexico, going to be that guy to keep the belts in Mexico, just keep the lineage going. And Pantoja just throwing them, you know, and that we saw that post-fight speech, very emotional, talking about his dad. You know, we later find out that he was an Uber driver. You know, so all of it just coming together, and now he's being Royval. Just an amazing story. And then Islam Volk, that was where it was probably the most technical out of all these fights. Really cool. We saw Volk get knocked down, I think, at one point. Islam kind of get knocked down. Or nah, I don't know. His were weird because it was like he was shooting and then he kind of got hit with a shot too. It was kind of what happened in the Guillermo Armand fight, where it was like you didn't know, since both of those guys are good wrestlers, you don't know if, like, did they get knocked down or were they in the midst of shooting a takedown at the same time. So it's kind of weird in those cases, but great striking displayed. It was weird, you know. I thought, as much as we saw Volk's grappling improve with the help of Craig Jones and everyone over there at City Kickboxing, we saw Islam striking improve drastically, man. I think that was such a pound for pound. As much as Volk gets the credit for having a pound for pound performance, moving up to 155 and doing what he did, for Islam to strike with a guy like Volk and knock him down and have, you know, many moments in that fight, arguably outstrike him, that was really impressive. And it was really impressive, too, seeing Volk's grappling shine through and make it hard for Islam to get those takedowns and stop a guy who was taking down everyone. So that was amazing. The fight was in Australia. I mean, the crowd was into it. I stand by that. I think I had Islam 4-1-2 in this fight. 3-2 maybe, but I didn't see any robbery. I thought Islam got this one clearly, but that's not the point. We're just talking about the enjoyment of the fight, the technicality of the fight. Really good fight. And then Turner Hooker, that was insane. This was another upset too. Didn't see this coming. I thought Turner would be lock of the year. I thought he'd just use his length. I thought he was just like a better version of Hooker almost, you know. Guy who could bang and do. And honestly, I think the Turner that beat Green could honestly beat Hooker. I don't know. The weight cut was hard, I know. That must have been hard on his cardio. I'm not saying it was a fluky win, but I think if they fought 100 times, I think Turner would take that. But it happened to be Hooker's night. And he's shown, I think this is the style of fight that he wins, though. You know, this was a really good strategy that he had against Turner, like surviving the early onslaught. You know, Turner almost had him out of there, and then Hooker just came on strong, rounds 2-3. He was able to get the win. Just amazing by Hooker, man. Just good toughness from both. You know, Turner to stay in there, even, you know, kind of gassing himself out in the first round, kind of get the finish, and then staying in there in rounds 2-3, showing his toughness, showing his grit, showing his, you know, will to win. Just really good fight, bloody fight. Just amazing. So all those are great fights. I had to choose one though, and the one that I went with was Pantoja Moreno 3. I thought it had everything. It had the excitement, it had the back and forth nature of it, it had the blood, it had the punches, the power, the knockdowns. I mean, I think people forget that Moreno got knocked down in the first round. I mean, so much happened in that fight. And to see the underdog rise up on top, get the upset, get the dub, it's just an amazing moment. A beautiful moment we saw with Pantoja in the post-fight interview. And just, I mean, a really good fight, on a really good card. Yeah, that's my fight of the year, man. I could watch that for days, man. That's an amazing fight. But yeah, that's all I really got for y'all today. That was my YBP UFC End of the Year Awards 2024. Hopefully we do this again next year. Yeah, YBP MMA. I'll try to be more active. Hopefully y'all do a video on Joshua. I think it's Joshua Wilder, the big heavyweight card. Wilder, Parker, Jarrell Miller, Daniel Dubois. Those are some really cool fights. Arslan Beck, Makhmudov, Kabayel, Dimitri Bivol, who was it, Lyndon Arthur. A lot of good fights on there. So, like I said, man, leave a like on the video, subscribe. Peace out, most great. You know what it is.